My name is Chuma Chini, and I am your family lawyer. I was called to the Nigerian bar in 1988, and I have over 35 years' experience in family law practice. I've helped countless families navigate Nigeria's complex legal terrain, and I am desirous of bringing this knowledge and expertise to you free of any charges. We need to put this polygamy under Islamic law in perspective. It is permissive. The law permits it, but it's important to note that that permission comes with strict conditions. A Muslim can marry up to 4 wives, but the Quran makes it clear that this can only be done under the condition of fairness. That is to say, if you fear that you will not be able to deal justly with more than 1 wife, please marry only 1 wife, just 1. In other words, there's a misconception that as a Muslim, you are required to marry many wives. This is not the case. It is not true. Muslims marry 1 wife, but if they have the means, they are allowed to marry up to 4. And when you do so, it means that you must be able to treat all wives fairly and equally. And this includes your financial support to them, devotion of time and affection to each and every wife. Islamic law emphasizes the need for justice in dealing with all wives. And failure to meet this standard can lead to legal and religious consequences. Islamic law ensures that every wife has equal access to the husband's wealth, to his time, to his every resource, equally with the other wives. Now let's take a little look at what these legal considerations are, which must be followed. In Nigeria, where Islamic law operates, in certain states, these legal requirements are enforced by the Sharia court. To marry more than 1 wife under Islamic law, a man must meet the following criteria. He must have the ability to provide for all the wives equally. He must ensure that each wife lives in equal standard as the next one. Whilst it is not a strict legal requirement, tradition has it that the first wife should be informed and she should give her consent before the husband can proceed to marry a second wife. In truth, some scholars and even courts require that this should be done. And then the husband must treat all wives fairly. We've talked about this a little earlier on, but just to emphasize that it is the cornerstone of polygamy under Islamic law. And believe me, it extends to emotional needs, that is to say, sexual needs, financial needs, physical aspects of the marriage. If you spend 1 night here, you will spend 1 night there. In practice, the consent of the first wife may not always be strictly required, but it's often considered a good practice and a means of ensuring harmony in the household. The idea is that polygamy should not cause unnecessary hardship or emotional distress for the first wife or any subsequent wife who begets yet another wife. And then the man must demonstrate that he has the financial muscle to support each wife equally. This is a key factor to consider. If you look at the prominent men I have mentioned that married multiple wives, I think we all know about how wealthy they are and that they have the means to support these wives. Now let's take a look at an interesting story that involves polygamy and the distribution of property under Islamic law. A man named Hassan married 2 wives under Islamic law, and then he died without making a will. The first wife, with whom Hassan had labored over the years to build his wealth, claimed after the husband died that she was entitled to a larger share of the man's wealth, having contributed more over the years than the second wife.
Wallahi gaskiya, as the first wife, I contributed more to acquiring our properties. I believe I deserve a larger share.
I know that Hassan married me some years after you both had lived together, but we are Muslims, dear. We must follow the law. Our husband didn't leave a will, so everything should be divided equally.
In a solemn Sharia courtroom, the judge is seated at a high bench while the first wife and second wife stand before him, flanked by their lawyers. The atmosphere is formal and tense.
My lord, I invested more money and effort into building our family's wealth. I should receive a larger portion of the estate.
My lord, I also contributed a lot. Under Sharia law, each wife is entitled to an equal share of the property, regardless of individual contributions.
After considering the arguments, this court holds that under Islamic inheritance laws, each wife is entitled to an equal share of the property. The estate must be divided according to Sharia law. While one wife may have contributed more financially, Islamic inheritance law does not prioritize one over the other based on contributions. Equity and fairness are paramount.
And so, the case of Hassan versus Hassan underscores the principle of fairness in Islamic law. Regardless of individual contributions, the estate is divided equally to ensure equity among spouses.
But the court had a different view, because under Sharia law, each wife must be treated equally, and they are entitled to equal share of their husband's wealth when he passes. And so, despite the enormous contributions that the first wife made to Hassan's wealth, the Sharia court held that the property should be shared equally between the two wives. This underscores the principle of fairness in Islamic law. Whilst one wife may have contributed more, toiled with the first wife, the second and subsequent wives will share equally with her in what she has built with her husband before they came on board. If this is fair, you be the judge. But that's fairness under Islamic law. The idea is to ensure that each wife receives her rightful share, and that this framework ensures that inheritance is not contentious because the rule is clearly defined. When the man goes, if he has 4 wives, share the property equally before the 4 wives. It does not matter that the first wife was there first. We will now show you briefly the legal implications of polygamy, specifically as it concerns spousal rights, the rights of spouses under a polygamous marriage. One of the most important aspects of polygamy under Islamic law is the protection of each wife's legal right, particularly financial rights. When a man marries more than one wife, he is legally obligated to provide for each wife equally. And this obligation covers housing, financial support, inheritance. And truly, if you fail to meet these obligations, the wife has legal right to approach the Sharia court for intervention. And in some cases, failure to do so can lead to the dissolution of the marriage. Islamic law is clear about the rights of each wife in a polygamous marriage. If a husband is found to be neglecting one or more of his wives, the affected wives can bring a case before an Islamic court to enforce her rights. When this is done, the court may issue an order to ensure that the husband complies with his obligations, including providing the required financial support and giving fair treatment. But trust me, how you go into a house to determine what is fair treatment is a difficult one for me to understand. But that's what the law requires, that the husband must treat the wives fairly. If this means that he makes a timetable, for instance, for bedtime, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for each wife, and then he rolls it over again, I don't know. But the law requires fair and equal treatment to all wives. And it is designed, that law is designed to protect the integrity of the marriage and prevent one wife from being overly favored or the other from being unfairly treated or deprived of her rights. As we conclude this episode on polygamy, it is important to emphasize that while polygamy under Islamic law is permissive, it comes with strict conditions that must be followed every time. If you are in a polygamous marriage, or you are considering entering one, or someone near you is about to take this leap of faith, please ask them, take a look before they leap. And how do you do this? Simply consult a lawyer if you are not sure, so that you're guided and so that you know your rights before you go into it. I hope that you've enjoyed today's episode of Your Family Lawyer and that you found it beneficial. Please join us next week as we explore Islamic divorce, inheritance rights under Islamic law, and how the estate is divided among spouses and children. Until then, stay informed and be empowered. And please, be good to your family. My name is Chuma Chidi, and I am your family lawyer.